you've seen some photos, you've seen some videos, you've heard about Zuni, but we wanted to give you a better picture of what's going on, why we go there every summer, and how you could actually get involved, hopefully. So that's what we're going to do. And to start, we have an interesting opportunity to listen from someone who actually works for Zuni. We have Emily Verhulst. She is still employed by Zuni. So give us a little more context on Zuni, the school there, the church, and our partnership with the community in Zuni, New Mexico.
Yeah, so Zuni was established by missionaries from the Christian Reformed Church back in 1897 when the first missionaries came down. The school was established in 1908, and so we've been there ever since. The cultural religion is still very much native religious practices, much like the ancient cultures we heard in the service today, where they are working to earn blessing, is the basic mentality behind the Zuni religious culture. So, yeah, it's great whenever we can have churches partner with us over extended amounts of time. We appreciate that because we get to know other places and also get to know familiar faces on a deeper level. So we're grateful for the partnership that Brookfield has over the past few years established with us. And I would say this crew that was down there this year represented BCRC really well, as from the Zuni perspective too. So,
yeah, one of the things that we often talk about, Emily, if I could just have you expand on that a little bit. We know a whole lot about Rehoboth. What people might not know is that Zuni is only, 40 minutes away from Rehoboth. And because of that, often it's overlooked and it's kind of underserved, it's underemphasized. As a teacher who's worked for Zuni, can you talk about that a little bit? And what are some of the things that we can do to help Zuni, not to walk away from helping Rehoboth, but also just kind of emphasize helping Zuni as well as Rehoboth?
yeah, and actually I got down to Zuni because I did my student teaching at Rehoboth, so I have a heart for both schools. But one of the things in my initial interview that the principal at the time told me was that Zuni is very different because not only does it serve a different tribe, Rehoboth tends to serve more Navajo tribe, which are very spread out on the reservation. Zuni is a Pueblo people, so they are all in one area. One interesting thing that adds to the dynamic of preaching the gospel in Zuni is you're close to your family. It's multi-generational households. So carrying on the Zuni religion is, there's a lot of pressure to do so because you're living with the people that want you to carry on the traditions. So Zuni tends to be a little harder to minister to in those ways because the pressure to stay within the Zuni religion is so strong. Whereas on the Navajo reservation, you're a little more spread out, so you're not rubbing elbows with the people that you are offending by joining, by following Christ. So that's one of the differences. The school in Zuni, about 80% of the students come from non-Christian homes and 20% come from Christian homes. A majority of them are Zuni, whereas Rehoboth, it tends to be flipped, where about 20% come from non-Christian homes and then 80% come from Christian or Christian background homes. So,
yeah, I guess one final question is, can you describe what we were talking about when it comes to like the school? Like, how big is the school? How big is the church? And how's that compared to the wider Zuni community?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of pride. I was on a tour with the Zuni tour organization, and they took a lot of pride in that 1% of Zunis were Christian. That was one of the facts that they shared. And I think factually, if you're looking at it, that maybe is the case. I do think there are a lot more Zuni Christians that maybe are afraid to admit to their families or afraid to admit to authorities that are taking the census and doing the numbers that they are following Christ. So the school serves about, this year it's 61 and counting students. And that always fluctuates up until end of January. So it's a smaller, parents come because of smaller class sizes, because of teachers who care, because maybe their child had an issue at the public school, things like that, where they'll choose to send them to the Christian school because of that. We are very upfront with them in saying that they are going to hear about Jesus not just in like a Bible class, but like in every single class, they're going to hear about it. And most parents all parents are fine with that. And if they aren't, then they find somewhere else to send their child. So, it was, I don't know, what was the other question that?
Just
with the church. So there's about 150. It's hard to pick to get the membership numbers there because many people show up on a given Sunday that maybe aren't members. A majority of the people tend to be Zuni, and we'll share more about the Zuni church experience later. But really, it does serve, many people come to the church for different resources. So it's one of the highest, like our deacons serve far more than just the church population. We have a food pantry within the church, things like that. So the church is trying to reach out to the community, and honestly, these summer groups that come, help us to do that with a lot more hands. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah, I know that I said that was the last question, but I guess this is the last question. We have a school right here, right? Brookfield Christian School. We were talking about the school in Zuni, but the title, the name of the school has the word mission in it. What does that signify? How is that different from, say, Brookfield Christian School? Like, what does that mean?
Many schools are covenant schools where parents let the school know which church they're attending, and church attendance is encouraged and monitored. We do not have our parents do that because of that mission piece in there. Just, we know it's a difficult thing to sign yourself up for not only a school but a church. And if the kids are hearing the gospel at home, we actually had one student this year who her whole family started to show up to church this year because she shared with her family. So that's an 8th grader this year. So it's cool to see how the school has an effect far more than like what we as teachers would be able to accomplish because their kids are sharing at home. So they don't it's not a requirement for the parents to attend church in order to attend the school.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving us a little more context of what we were talking about. So let's talk about the daily rhythm of how we kind of spend our days in Zuni. So Gavin, I'm going to ask you a few questions, right? Walk us through a typical day in Zuni. What time did you wake up? What time were you supposed to wake up? What did a daily schedule look like? All right, just kind of describe for us the type of work that you did and how the evenings were spent.
Sure. So we were kind of supposed to be up at 7. You'd wake us up with a song of your choice on your speaker at about 7, but a lot of us probably wouldn't get out of bed till 7:30. Breakfast was around 8, and we'd kind of get ready to leave to go work at like 8:30 before it got too hot. And then we'd go do work for about half the day till about noon, lunchtime. We'd go back for lunch, maybe chill for a little bit, and then Maybe if there was a little work left to do, we'd go back out and do the work. And then we'd have dinner. And then we had our devotion time and our just time of like gathering and everything. And then we'd have some free time after that, and then we'd go to bed and then do the same the next day.
Yeah, waking up at 7:30 instead of 7, right? Yeah, that's. Would anybody else want to chime in, describing, what types of work that we did, anything that kind of stood out to you as you think about how you spent that week in Zuni? Any work that stood out to you?
I know myself and a couple others spent a lot of time painting. So we painted at one of the members of the community's homes, and then we also painted some of their teacher housing. So a lot of white paint on white walls that took a long time, but we had a great time doing that, and it was just a cool way to build community among the group that was doing that and staying together for a lot of the time. So yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of fill in the gaps for our audience a little bit, right? I mean, we had to eat, so anybody could chime in. Who cooked for us? And we were talking about sleeping. Where did you sleep, right? So let's just start there. Ken?
Peter and Jackie took care of most of the cooking. They planned it all. Others pitched in at times. I know Chad and I made pancakes most mornings for everybody. But Jackie did bulk of the cooking.
And I know you had a special sleeping arrangement, but yeah.
Yeah, as the elder statesman of the group, I got very special treatment. I had my own room with my own bathroom and everything. So when others talk about the sleeping, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, maybe Chad, can you compare your sleeping arrangement against Ken's?
Well, mine was great as well. So we had a very large, sort of conference room that they had staff and board meetings in, and they had a couple beds in there for us. We had our kids with us, so that was an advantage to not having to sleep with all the young kids.
Everyone else slept.
Yeah, everyone else slept in classrooms, right? So they had air mattresses, and they got to sleep in classrooms in the school, and I don't even know what happened after I went to bed.
So what Chad is trying to say is he didn't get to experience waking up in the middle of the night with your butt on the ground because the air mattress was slowly deflating throughout the night. Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, it was another source of bonding as well, though, right? Kind of to share that room together, to fight about, why it was so cold, how we could adjust the temperature of the room a little bit, just telling people to wear another layer instead of complaining. All that stuff was just a source of bonding. So what about some of the hardest work that you did, right? Caroline, you're kind of nodding a little bit. Yeah, tell us about.
So if you weren't on the painting crew, which we thought was the easy job, no offense, Addison. So I would say 2 or 3 days were spent with the rest of us clearing garbage. And it was an amazing and awful and amazing experience. So there were, garbage collection in Zuni comes at a cost. It's not just done weekly by a garbage collection group. So you have to dump your own garbage, and that means you have to have a vehicle to transport your garbage. That means you have to be able to put gas in that vehicle. And then when you get there, you have to pay to dump it. And so if you're living in poverty, you might not be able to do that. And so your garbage piles up. And so for several people that we were able to meet and serve and care for, garbage had collected for decades. Is that fair? The memories are fuzzy. Decades of garbage. And fortunately, it was very dry in New Mexico, so it was very dry garbage piles. And if you want to see the resilience and the faithfulness of the next generation, go watch them collect garbage, because they picked it up with gloved hands and they bagged it for days. And then kids hauled it and piled it, and there were really, really disgusting things in the garbage, and they kept going back. And it was amazing. It was amazing to watch and to be part of. It was also really gross, and so you should join us in Zuni next year. But it was incredible, and it was really hard work. But what was really amazing was it was like a physical weight lifted off of the people we were serving. In a day, all the garbage that had been built up for decades, it was gone. And it was just to be part of that and to see the relief on some of these people and to know that that's what Jesus does for us, and that's what we were able to talk about with some of the people. Like he takes our burdens, and to be able to physically take someone's burden for them, and to be part of that, and to minister to people, and to make that connection to what God does for us in our lives. It was really beautiful to be a part of. So it was a lot more than garbage.
Yeah. Was there anything else that, I'm just talking to adults here, was there anything else that you witnessed, right, from the students, like, as they did their work? Like, did you see in any other ways how they kind of stepped up and represented Christ well?
Yeah, it was evident a lot, but I'm just going to I'll use a name. So Taylor Koinga was buried up to her elbows or her armpits in garbage, just throwing this stuff around. And then when it was done, she went to the next place and did the exact same thing. So yeah, there's I feel good about the next generation coming up. So whatever you're doing at an OTE, you're doing a great job. So
we're teaching them how to pick up garbage.
Well,
that's
whatever it takes. I mean,
yeah.
it shows a lot of heart and a lot of servanthood, definitely.
Yeah. So we've talked about garbage, we've talked about painting. We also did a lot of gardening, right? We did a lot of weeding. There was a moment where people were on top of the ladder that, they weren't supposed to be on that level, but they were there cutting down branches, painting and getting the dust off. God knows what. So there were a lot of things that we did, and we don't have enough time to share with you all, but I just encourage you to talk to the students who went last year, and you saw some of their faces in the slideshow. Switching gear a little bit, let's talk about how we engaged with the community of Zuni, right? One of the things that we did, Emily, one of the things that we did again this year was to host a basketball tournament. And we did it for a reason. Can you tell the audience why we did it, why that was such a big deal, and what that was all about?
Well, on the reservation, basketball is huge, and one of the work things that we did was helped out our janitor, Quecho and Gordon, and to get the school ready. Quecho is also a huge basketball fan, and he loves to put on tournaments when he can and play in them. So he helped us organize another basketball tournament through his connections in the community and beyond. He had some of his relatives coming from Albuquerque to join us in this basketball tournament. So it's one of those things where we can step into kind of what passions they have and join them in that, in playing basketball. The teams were split up, so it was kind of random teams. So hopefully the kids got to know some people in Zuni, and one of our, Lydia, her team won, so that was exciting. She had, some brothers on her team that were really good, and they carried the team along with her to victory, so. Yeah.
And Ken, you took a day trip out to Window Rock CRC, which is not part of the Zuni community, but part of the Navajo tribe. Yeah, tell us about what you did there, what you saw. How is that different from Zuni?
So Window Rock, it's a small CRC church in Window Rock. It's in Arizona, I believe. I think it's just over the state line. And it's very small. And like you said, it's a Navajo Navajo church. There's just an elderly couple, they're natives that are, I would call them the caretakers of the church. And there's a lot to be done at this church that they physically cannot do. I think there is a lot of cleaning at way up high on ladders and all sorts of things like that. So there's some dangerous work, and things have been just neglected over the years. We put up some banner sign railings for them to hang. They have their banners all over church. They were just scattered everywhere. We kind of set up some hangers for them and took care of all that. One of the things that when I was there, we had two crews going. We were on the second crew on the second day. Gavin was with me here. And where was I going with this? Anyway, I kind of made the kids do the work. And because I was told early on that you don't always have to work. A big part of being down there is just getting to know the people. So I decided I'll show the kids what to do, and I just spent time talking to this couple, and they were just super appreciative of us being there, and I think they want us back. So yeah,
they do want us back, and
Okay.
next year they want us to clean these like high windows that they have, like.
They're full of sand. So that's our task for next year. The stained glass windows are full of sand that was blown into them. But yeah, so this past year we hung some railings so they could hang their banners that they switch out, and we switched the banners out for them. They're an older couple, so they can't go on the ladders, and so. But then the year before that, we went as the whole group, and we went and had a meal with them. They made what did they make? The Navajo tacos. So we went and shared a whole meal with them. So that was good. That was the year before last year. So.
Yeah. So when we are in Zuni, we try to do our best to engage with not just Zuni CRC, but also Rehoboth, as well as Window Rock CRC. But we do engage with Zuni CRC as well, and we worshiped with them. Addison, tell us a little bit about what you experienced, any differences that you've noticed, or anything like that?
Yeah, so worship like at Zuni CRC was one of the first things that we got to do in our trip. So it was cool to just see the whole community come together. One of the things I loved is we got to see Emily be a part of worship there. So you can tell that she's really loved by the community there. So that was really cool to see. Another thing that they did is different than our church is we like greeted each other for 10 minutes. They were like, okay, we're gonna greet each other and everyone go learn the name of 10 new people. So that definitely pushed some of us out of our comfort zones a little bit right away. But it was cool to just be able to talk to the different members of the church there. Another thing that I liked was they had a time of prayer, and they asked the congregation sitting there if anyone had any prayer requests, and so people could stand up and share a prayer request right there. So that was kind of cool. With a smaller congregation, they're able to pray like that. And then after the worship service, then we all got to have some time of fellowship with everyone, and so that was just fun to be able to, again, it was like our first day there, so being able to meet all the members of the church was pretty fun. So.
Yeah, so we had a chance to talk to some of the members of that church. Did any stories kind of stand out to you as you recall that moment? Any cool people that you met, or any familiar faces that you've run into? Any stories?
I have one. So there was this little boy, his name's Jeremiah, and obviously there's been people from our church who've come years before, and this was my first time this past year coming. And so I asked Jeremiah, I was like, oh, what's your name? Like, whatever. And he was like, you don't know my name? Like, he was like astounded that I didn't know his name, because he just assumed that everyone knew who he was. So because I thought that was really cool just to see that he had built that relationship with members from our group before. And yeah, he was so sweet. And so that was just a funny little moment with little Jeremiah. So.
Yeah, and on top of those things, we have also toured the Rehoboth campus. We got like an official tour from, I forget her title, but she led us on a tour, showed us all the good things that God has done in Rehoboth, and we've also talked about the history of Rehoboth, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how God has used all of those things to bring people to Him. So that was a good time. And after that, though, we went on this hike. You saw some of those photos in the slideshow. Who's ready to talk about that hike? Anyone?
I mean, it brought some tears to some people. That's one way to put it, I guess. It started off like a normal hike. I mean, it was a little. Who was leading? Was it Ken? His name was Ken. Chad. His name was Chad. So he works at Rehoboth, and so he led us on this hike, and he kind of warned us at the beginning. He's like, gets a little treacherous, and we're like, what does that mean? And he didn't really explain it to us. And then we get to the part where it became treacherous, and you have to flip yourself around and go down and just trust that there's a rock where you're going to put your feet. But there was, so it was pretty good. It was a good hike.
I will say, too, Lily did most of it. So she was a trooper, yeah. I showed her the back way where she didn't have to put her back against the rock and extend her legs to the other side and wiggle down. So no one else got shown that treatment.
I would just add, like, one of the things about Zuni is just the area has got incredible beauty to it, right? So on these hikes that happen regularly, that was a big one, but there are other little ones that happened, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've been, and it's really cool to experience God through creation then, as well as we experience Him through community, and we experience Him through service and through worship. So it really was like a total package of getting to see who God is and see what He's doing in this world by going to Zuni.
Yeah, I would say, like, going on a hike, just working together, that really brought us together as a community, really. And one of the ways that we really bonded, right, was, our nighttime, board games and card games. And I do remember, I still don't remember the name of the card game that you taught me, Chad, but I still don't know how to play that game. Can you?
We're trying to keep it that way.
Yeah. So yeah, like tell the audience, guys, about what you guys did once everything was done officially, right? We had the free time. What'd you guys do? What'd you guys play? Just tell them.
Yeah, I mean, so the school and the church are all part of one building, and they've got a large gymnasium where we could hang out and spend time. Kids were playing basketball. Kids were playing the game with the PVC pipe, and I don't even know what it's called. 9 square, and then they were playing card games and just hanging out, telling stories, and that it's probably later on your agenda. That's like me to go off agenda, but like that part of the evening and part of the whole thing it's the picture of the church from as it's written about in the Bible. It's just spending time together, right? So we hear about it. We're spending time together with meals in the morning, and then we're working together. And then we're coming back and spending fun time together. And then we're worshiping together every night. So it really was, as I reflected back on it, like a picture of what the church is meant to look like when you read about it in the Bible. It just comes alive when you actually go do it then. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're kind of forced to do it, but you also find joy in that as well. Anything else? Yeah.
I was just going to add, so there's a lot of card games, a lot of sheep's head, which I was thankful
That's
to not
the game.
have to.
That is the game. Yep.
I refused to play it, so I was glad for a week somebody else could. But Lily and Willa did about 1,000 cartwheels a day in the gymnasium. They also set up a tea party, and we threatened a couple of the senior boys within an inch of their life that if they didn't go to the tea party, they couldn't come back to Zuni. So it was really just multi-generational, right? Like everybody had to play hoops with our 10-year-old, even though they didn't want to play hoops anymore, right? Everybody just kind of pitches in and spends quality time together in ways that you might not have if you were at home, right? Just choosing the people that you wanted to invite over that evening. So it's just a real beautiful week of what I think a picture of the church is really supposed to be. And sometimes it takes us to step out of our real lives for a week in order to have that experience.
And with that too, part of the evening was hearing testimonies. And I did warn them that like in Zuni, the talk is very circular. So it's a very, very long story, and then they'll go back and then they'll repeat some of that same story, and then they'll get a little bit farther in the story. So the kids did a really, really good job listening to multiple testimonies, asking meaningful questions about those testimonies, just to hear how the Lord was at work with Zuni Christians, people who had a different upbringing than them, people who grew up in homes that were not Christian necessarily, and yeah, hearing the story of other people's lives, which is really important. So
yeah, we get to hear like how God is at work, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing that we did talk about, I think it's like one of the final days, we did talk about how we ought to give God our gratitude for just establishing Zuni CRC. Because, I mean, it's a work that we're called to do, right? We're called to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth, but we cannot physically be there. So what God has done is God has established his church in Zuni, right? We get to visit once a year, but God is doing amazing work down in Zuni, even without our presence. So we got to give God our thanks for all that he's doing. We've already begun talking about this, but there were just so many moments of unexpected joy. We've talked about how we saw students kind of step up. We saw how Taylor, even though I couldn't physically witness it, I've heard stories of how Taylor was just like in the middle of the pile of garbage, just doing her thing. I've seen people just climb up that ladder when it was dangerous, right? We've seen people move stuff, paint without complaining. I've seen amazing things, but Ken, I just want to ask you, because you went there without any family members. You're not part of OTE yet. I would say you were probably like the guy. You were the man down there in Zuni.
Okay, if you say so. I did have a wonderful experience. There's no doubt about it. Did I know what to expect? No, I had no idea. I assumed correctly that there was work involved, and that was initially what drew me to it, that, okay, here's an opportunity for me to serve. I've got some skills. I can pitch in and help out. But what I came away with was that, boy, it's much more than the work. It's getting to know not only the people of Zuni, but also the people of our church. I mean, like you said, I don't have any kids in OTE anymore. I didn't go. Mary didn't come with me, so I was by myself. A little apprehensive, but I'll tell you, by the time the plane hit the ground in Albuquerque, I knew it was going to be fine. And I made 25 new friends while I was down there, and I enjoyed it all. I'm wearing my bracelet. Are you wearing yours? Okay, so apparently it meant more to me than them.
Yeah, Chad and Caroline, you are OT leaders, and you went there as OT leaders, but you brought your entire family with you, right? Two young ones, who one of which did 1,000 cartwheels every day, and the other one was trying to play basketball with, I think, Tyler and Jeb and anybody else that would. Yeah. So tell us about your experience. Did you have any fears before you got on that plane?
I'll go for it. Yeah. Well, I think we really wanted to go as OTE leaders, like with our big kids, and have that experience with them. And I think, so each year that we were OTE leaders that we didn't go, it was like, oh, maybe next year the kids will be a little older, and maybe they'll be able to sleep on the science classroom floor with a room full of people. No, that we never got to that point. But we just really wanted to go and have that experience with our high schoolers. And we didn't want to leave our kids behind for a week. And so we thought, well, we'll figure it out. And then, and they did. We figured it out. It was awesome. It was very doable. There were things that we took turns not doing, and that was okay too. I'm pretty sure Chad was really happy one day to stay behind on one of the excursions because our kids just couldn't hang any longer. They were exhausted, or one of us would take turns doing devotions because our kids did need to go to bed and they couldn't hang any longer. So the rhythm looked a little different for us, and it required us to be flexible. It required everyone around us to deal with some extra whining. That was. You're welcome to parenthood. Chad, yeah, you're whining and the kids whining. No. But that's part of being like the family that we were for the week. It just required everybody to kind of pitch in and help and entertain or change the subject when we couldn't anymore. So it was a really beautiful picture of being a larger family than just the four of us. So it was very doable. We also had wonderful accommodations that made it a little simpler for us. What am I missing? But yeah, I guess like Taylor Koinga in the garbage heap rocked it. And my kids were right there watching it. And so that's why we took them, because I want them to have a picture. Like they couldn't keep up with all the garbage collection. They couldn't contribute the same way, but like our daughter and Lily painted watermark bookmarks one day and left them with the people that we were serving. And you just think like there's something in the kingdom that everyone can do. And so they get to come along and they get to be part of it, and they get to see other kids in the garbage heap and have a picture of when I'm older, that's what it looks like to serve. And I get to be part of that, and they get to see the community praying. And so just to give our kids a picture of what the church looks like at a young age was really a gift to us, a blessing to us, and a blessing to them.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. Henrik, you couldn't go this year, yet you wanted to be here just to talk about the importance of kind of stepping out of your comfort zone when it comes to serving, and some of the experiences that you had and how that kind of helped you to grow as a person, as a Christian. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your experiences.
So I was unable to go this past year, unfortunately, which is a bummer because I really love going on the trip. Because it's really fun, but also because it provides such a neat opportunity to serve. And it's taught me a lot about serving. The biggest thing being, like, while we did a lot of, like, practical work, the most important parts that I saw were, like, in those conversations and then just spending time with people and learning their story in a totally different life than, like, where I live a very comfortable life. My faith walk journey is always encouraged. They face a lot of conflict when they choose to follow Christ. And sometimes it's really hard to have those conversations because you don't have the answers. You can't offer solutions. And so while we did all this work and it was helpful, you kind of have to sit with, like, you're not the solution, God's the solution. And every year I love, like, revisiting that. So it was a bummer that I couldn't make it, but yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. So for those of us, or for people in the audience who are considering going, or who would like to go, who are interested at least, what would you say to them to encourage them, right? Whether that is as a family, or as individuals, or as students, or as adults, what would you like to say to them to encourage them?
I would just say that if you're at all apprehensive about it, just do it anyway. You will not be sorry. You won't be. You'll strengthen your ties with people in your church that you see every Sunday that you may not know, which is so important. And you're going to be able to experience, a whole new culture and influence those people as well. So. And if you don't mind sleeping on bad air mattresses, well, that's just a bonus. But if you're the eldest, you get your own room. So there's that.
But no guarantee. There's no guarantee here.
Yeah, that's true.
Anybody else who would like to encourage others?
I would just dare you to find someone who's gone, and I just have them tell you not to go. You're not going to find someone, right? They're all going to tell you you should absolutely do it, because it is something. You watch these videos back 6 months later, and you're still smiling about it. You're still remembering these things, and just even listening to the stories here over and over and over again, it makes you just full of joy, and it was a beautiful thing to be a part of.
Yeah, thank you. Just so you know, for 2026, the dates are July 26th through August 1st. So I just want to put that out there just in case you're interested. Well, do you guys have any questions for us? Anything that you would like to know more about? Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I think it's great for the group and the activities that were done. Do they invite any of the local students to become a part of those activities so that they're, cleaning up their own community and working side by side?
Yeah, so with the houses that we were picking up trash at, we invited the families there. They didn't have any kids there, but they were out. If they were able-bodied enough, they were out helping as well, in different ways. It depends on the group that comes down. So oftentimes if you're inviting, like some groups will do more of like a kids club, VBS. And have you guys done that in the past? I think 2 years ago you might have done that. So then you're inviting more of the local kids to participate in that. But otherwise, yeah, so there's different, it looks different each time a little bit, but yeah, we definitely wanted the people at the houses we were at. One of them was a little older, so her son came out to help. Her adult son came out. But yeah, so if they're able, they help out, but they're not always able. Sometimes they just come out and bring popsicles. So we had that at one house because she wasn't able to help, so she brought ices out or something like that. So,
any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, you identified that when someone comes into the Christian faith, there's consequences in the community. What are some of those consequences? What does it cost?
Yeah, so because Zuni is a very traditional religion, they're responsible for saying certain prayers for the ancestors. They're responsible for helping the family out when it's their turn to host for religious purposes, that type of thing. And a lot of Zuni Christians wrestle with that of like, where is the line? Because helping family is really important, and that is part of Christ. So maybe they'll go and they'll help cook, but they won't actually be at the ceremony or something like that. It looks different for every Zuni Christian, so it's hard to say. Some families are a little bit more accepting. Many do not understand why, because it seems like the Catholic Church in town does a little bit more syncretistic worship, like, yes, be a part of the Catholic Church, and you can still worship your Zuni idols, your Zuni gods. But it looks different at the Christian Reformed Church because we just learned today you can't do both. So we didn't just learn that, we heard it. Just to clarify. Surprise. Yeah, so because of that, different people are at different levels in their faith, and you're kind of walking alongside them in that, and thankfully there's enough Zuni Christians who have gone before where they can talk with them and relate to the people who are, the new Christians who are wrestling with that in those ways too. I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, so there's just different familial pressures that they face. But
I would just add, I think being a Christian coming into this to their culture. I think we all had to wrestle a little bit or live in the tension of there's this beautiful culture in Zuni that we're there to honor and learn about, and yet there's parts of their beliefs that we don't believe are true. And how do we as Christians honor their culture and also disciple to them and share truth? And I think that was just an honor to live in that tension. And I think that's a prayer that we came away with, and that I would encourage you to pray, is only God can do that. I don't know what that looks like. None of us do, but God does. God knows how to keep Zuni, and yet let them be just totally in love with the Lord. And so pray for that, because we don't want to come in and make everyone look like us, but we want to let them all love the Lord and share that with them. So that would be a prayer you could take with you today.
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing your stories, and thank you for coming and letting us share your story. Can I close with a quick prayer? Father, we thank you for the work of the church that you are calling us to do. We thank you for the faithful Christians in Zuni, and we thank you for faithful Christians here and everywhere else in the world. Father, we ask that you would use your people to bring more people to you, to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with the entire world, so that your name may be glorified increasingly, daily. That's our hope, that we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.